Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll wake up earlier. Tomorrow I'll exercise. Tomorrow I'll read that book. Tomorrow I'll become the person I've always wanted to be. But somehow, tomorrow keeps becoming another tomorrow. Days turn into months. Months turn into years. And one day we look back wondering where all that time went. Welcome to Book Bite. Today we're exploring Kaizen, the Japanese method for transforming your life one small step at a time. This isn't a philosophy about working harder. It's not about becoming perfect overnight. It's about discovering why the smallest changes often create the biggest transformations. Because perhaps the life you've been dreaming about has never been one giant leap away. Perhaps it has always been waiting on the other side of one small step.
Part 1. Why we keep starting over. Every January, millions of people promise themselves that this year will be different. They'll finally lose weight, save money, learn a new skill, stop procrastinating, become happier. For a few days, everything feels possible. Motivation is high, the future looks exciting. But then life happens. One missed workout becomes 2. One unhealthy meal turns into a week. One busy day becomes an excuse to stop completely. And before long, we're back where we started. It's easy to blame ourselves, to believe we're lazy, undisciplined, or simply not good enough. But Kaizen offers a much kinder explanation. What if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the way you've been taught to change? We've been told that real transformation has to be dramatic, that if we truly want a different life, we must change everything at once. But our minds don't like sudden change. They see it as a threat. And when something feels overwhelming, our first instinct is to avoid it. Perhaps that's why so many dreams never fail. Because they're impossible, they fail because they begin too small. Kaizen invites us to stop asking, how can I change my entire life? And begin asking something much gentler. What is the smallest step I can take today? Because every remarkable journey has always begun the very same way, with one small step that seemed almost too small to matter. Before we move forward, ask yourself, what dream have you been postponing simply because the first step looked too big?
Next, we come to another part, that is, the lie of waiting for the perfect moment. There's a sentence almost all of us have whispered to ourselves. I'll start when life becomes less busy, when I have more money, when I have more confidence, when I have more time. We believe that somewhere in the future a perfect moment is waiting for us, a day when we'll finally feel ready. But think about your own life for a moment. Has that perfect day ever really arrived? Or has life simply replaced one excuse with another? This is the quiet illusion that keeps so many dreams trapped inside us. We wait for motivation before taking action, when in reality, action is often what creates motivation. Kaizen teaches that you don't need to feel ready, you only need to begin. Because confidence isn't something you collect before you act, it's something you build after taking one small step.
Imagine standing at the bottom of a staircase in complete darkness. You don't need to see all 20 steps. You only need enough light to take the first one. Then the second becomes visible, then the third. Life works in much the same way. Clarity rarely comes before action. It usually arrives because of it. The smallest action has a strange kind of magic. It tells your mind, we've already started. And once you've started, continuing becomes much easier than beginning. Perhaps you've been waiting for the right moment, when all along, the right moment has been quietly waiting for you. Not tomorrow, not next month, but today. So, before we continue, ask yourself, what would change in your life if you stopped waiting to feel ready and simply took the smallest possible step today?
Part 2. One small step changes everything. If someone asked you how a mountain is climbed, you'd probably answer one step at a time. Yet when it comes to changing our own lives, we expect one giant leap. We believe success begins with dramatic decisions, a strict routine, a complete transformation, a brand new version of ourselves. But Kaizen quietly challenges that belief. It says that the smallest action is often the most powerful one. Reading one page instead of an entire book, walking for 5 minutes instead of running 5 kilometers, saving a single coin instead of worrying about becoming rich overnight. These actions seem almost too small to matter, and that's exactly why they work. They don't frighten your mind. They don't demand perfection. They simply ask you to begin. Most people underestimate small actions because they judge them by today's results. They don't realize that tiny actions are planting tomorrow's future. A single drop of water seems insignificant, but over time it can shape solid stone. Your habits work the same way. Every small promise you keep to yourself quietly strengthens your belief that you are someone who follows through, and that belief slowly becomes your identity. Perhaps your life has never needed a dramatic restart. Perhaps it has only been waiting for one small action repeated with patience. Because the biggest transformations are rarely born from extraordinary moments. They are built through ordinary choices, made again and again. Before we continue, ask yourself, what is one action so small that you could begin today, yet powerful enough to change who you become a year from now? Next is the smallest wins build the strongest person. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to finish something, even if it's something incredibly small? Making your bed, drinking enough water, reading just one page, writing a single paragraph. They may seem like ordinary moments, but your mind doesn't see them that way. Every small promise you keep sends yourself a quiet message: I can trust myself. And that message is more powerful than you might imagine. Most people believe confidence comes before action. Kaizen teaches the opposite. Confidence is created by action, not huge action, small action. Each tiny success becomes evidence that change is possible. One success becomes 2, 2 become 10, and before long, you've become someone who naturally does the things you once struggled to begin. This is why Kaizen never asks you to become a different person overnight. It simply asks you to become 1% better than yesterday. because transformation isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in ordinary days that most people ignore. Think about a mason building a house. Placing one brick doesn't look impressive, but after hundreds of days, those ordinary bricks become a home. Your habits are the bricks of your future. Every small action you repeat is quietly building the life you will eventually live. So never underestimate the power of a tiny victory. It may look invisible today, but one day you'll realize it was the foundation for everything that followed. Before we continue, ask yourself, what small promise could you keep today, simply to prove to yourself that you're becoming someone you can truly trust?
Part 3. Become the person before you chase the goal. What if the reason you've struggled to change has nothing to do with your goals? Most of us spend our lives chasing achievements. We say, I want to lose 10 kilos. I want to read 50 books. I want to earn more money. These goals aren't wrong, but Kaizen asks a much deeper question. Who do you need to become for those goals to happen naturally? Because goals can change your circumstances, but identity changes your life. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. The first says, I'm trying to stop smoking. The second says, I'm not a smoker. They're doing the same thing, yet one is fighting a habit. The other has already changed the way they see themselves. That's the quiet power of identity. Every small action is like casting a vote for the person you're becoming. When you read one page, you're becoming a reader. When you exercise for 5 minutes, you're becoming someone who takes care of their body. When you choose kindness over anger, you're becoming a kinder person. Little by little, your actions stop feeling like effort. They begin to feel like who you are. Perhaps lasting change doesn't begin when you achieve a goal. Perhaps it begins the moment you believe you are already becoming that person. Because the life you dream about is created twice. First in your identity, and then in your reality. Before we continue, ask yourself, if someone watched your daily choices instead of listening to your dreams, who would they say you're becoming? Next, we move forward to another concept, that is, consistency will always beat motivation. How many times have you felt incredibly motivated, only to lose that feeling a few days later? Perhaps you've watched an inspiring video, read a powerful book, or promised yourself that this time would be different. For a while, everything feels easy. You wake up early, you stay focused, you believe you've finally changed. But motivation is like the weather. Some days it's bright, other days it's nowhere to be found. And if your dreams depend only on motivation, they'll disappear whenever that feeling does. This is why Kaizen never asks you to rely on inspiration. It asks you to rely on consistency. Because the people who achieve extraordinary things are not always the most motivated. They're the ones who keep showing up, especially on the days they don't feel like it. Imagine planting a seed. You wouldn't dig it up every morning to check if it has grown. You simply water it day after day, trusting that something invisible is happening beneath the soil. Your habits grow in exactly the same way. Most of the progress is hidden long before it becomes visible. The person who reads 5 pages every day may not notice a difference this week or even this month, but years later they'll wonder how those tiny moments quietly transformed their life. Perhaps success has never belonged to the people who started with the most excitement. Perhaps it belongs to those who quietly continued long after the excitement was gone. Before we continue, when motivation disappears tomorrow, what small habit will still remind you to keep moving forward?
Part 4. The compound effect. Nobody notices. Have you ever looked at someone successful and thought, they're just lucky? Or maybe, they have something I don't. But what if success isn't built on luck at all? What if it's built on thousands of tiny decisions that nobody ever sees? We celebrate the finished book, but we don't see the person who wrote 1 page every night. We admire the healthy body, but we don't notice the years of choosing a short walk over staying on the couch. We applaud the confident speaker, but we forget the countless moments they kept practicing when no one was watching. Kaizen teaches that the biggest changes are almost always invisible in the beginning. Each small action feels too ordinary to matter. 1 page, 1 push-up, 1 kind word, 1 extra minute of practice. None of them seem life-changing on their own, but time has a remarkable way of multiplying what we repeat. Just as a single snowflake seems insignificant, millions of them can transform an entire landscape. Your daily choices work the same way. They quietly collect, day after day, month after month, until one day people call it success. They see the result, but they never saw the small moments that created it. Perhaps that's why so many people give up too early. They expect dramatic progress, while real transformation is happening beneath the surface. Kaizen reminds us to trust the process even when we can't yet see the results, because the smallest actions often become the biggest miracles given enough time. Before we continue, what tiny habit are you overlooking today that your future self might one day thank you for never giving up on?
Before we continue to next part, let me know in the comment section that what you learned till this time that you felt connected to your own life too. Next, let's move on to our discussion. Small changes create extraordinary relationships. When we think about improving our lives, we usually think about ourselves, our career, our health, our habits. But Kaizen reminds us that one of the greatest places for small improvements is our relationships. Most relationships don't fall apart because of one huge mistake. They slowly weaken through small moments that were ignored. A conversation that never happened, an apology that was never spoken, a message that was never sent, a simple thank you that was never expressed. The same is true in the opposite direction. Strong relationships are rarely built through grand gestures. They're built through ordinary acts of kindness repeated over time. Listening without interrupting, remembering someone's favorite tea, asking how their day was, being fully present for just a few minutes. These moments seem small, yet they quietly tell another person, you matter. And perhaps that's what every human heart is truly searching for, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel valued.
Kaizen teaches that improving your relationships doesn't require changing everything overnight. It begins with one thoughtful action, then another and another, because love, trust, and friendship don't grow through perfection, they grow through consistency. Just like a garden, they flourish when they're cared for a little every day. Perhaps the people you love don't need a perfect version of you. Perhaps they simply need a version of you that's willing to show up one small act of kindness at a time. Before we continue, who in your life deserves one small gesture of appreciation today, and what's stopping you from making it happen?
Part 5. A better life is built quietly. We often imagine that changing our lives will feel dramatic. A single decision, a powerful breakthrough, one unforgettable moment that changes everything forever. But when you look closely at the lives of truly fulfilled people, their stories are usually much quieter than that. They became healthier because they kept choosing to care for themselves. They became wiser because they never stopped learning. They built meaningful relationships because they never stopped showing kindness. Their lives weren't transformed in a single day. They were shaped by thousands of ordinary days. This is the heart of Kaizen. It teaches us to stop chasing dramatic change and start respecting quiet progress. Because every peaceful morning, every page you read, every promise you keep, every difficult moment you handle with patience is slowly becoming part of the person you are. Most of these moments will never be celebrated. No one will applaud them. No one may even notice them. But your future self will. One day you'll look back and realize that the life you once dreamed about was never created by one extraordinary decision. It was created by countless ordinary ones. Perhaps that's why the most beautiful transformations are also the quietest. They happen so gently that you don't even notice you've changed until one day you realize you're no longer the person you used to be. And maybe that's the real miracle of Kaizen. It doesn't ask you to become someone new overnight. It simply invites you to become a little better, one ordinary day at a time. Before we end this journey, ask yourself, if you became just 1% better every single day, who could you become 1 year from now?
Final reflection. If there's one thing Kaizen hopes you'll remember, it's this. Your life is not changed by the biggest decisions you make once. It's changed by the smallest decisions you make every day. We spend so much of our lives waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan, the perfect version of ourselves. But perfection has never been the beginning of transformation. Action is. A single page can become a library of knowledge. A single walk can become a healthier life. A single kind word can heal a relationship. A single promise kept to yourself can become the foundation of unshakable confidence. Never underestimate what a small step can become when it's repeated with patience, because time has a beautiful way of rewarding those who refuse to give up. One day, without even realizing it, you'll wake up and notice that your habits have changed, your mindset has changed, your life has changed. Not because of one extraordinary moment, but because of hundreds of ordinary ones. Thank you for spending these moments with me here on Book Bite.
If this journey reminded you that meaningful change doesn't have to be overwhelming, then carry one small lesson with you after this video. Not 10, just one, and begin today. Because the future you've been hoping for is quietly being built by the choices you make before this day comes to an end. And before you leave, ask yourself one final question. What is the one small step you can take today that your future self will smile and thank you for years from now? Until next time, take care of yourself and keep becoming one small step at a time.